Throughout the 1800s, the United States was expanding in land size, growing in population. New inventions were causing rapid change from coast to coast. What else was changing? The United States was getting rich. That's what. And you know what they say, more money, more problems. Most of the money the United States was making was connected in some way to the growth and sale of cotton, thanks to enslaved labor. Although both the northern United States and the southern United States were making money off of the cotton industry and the enslaved people that grew it, they were becoming two quite different places. Cultural issues. Culture is a way of life, and two very different cultures were coming about or emerging during this 19th century. The North was industrializing, building factories to manufacture goods. Before this, most factories were found in Europe, but in the 1800s, this was beginning to change. Cities and towns began to dot the northern landscape. City living is called an urban society. The South was focused on agriculture, farming. By the 1830s, the smallest farmer and the largest plantation owner were all growing the same thing, cotton. In fact, 60% of all southern farms were growing cotton. When farming is the major way of life, we call that a rural society. When people are culturally different, in other words, when people have different ways of living, often they begin to think differently about life. Sometimes these separate ways of thinking can divide us. Economic issues. Tariffs was one economic issue that divided many Northerners and Southerners. Think about it like this. The South was an agricultural society. Life in the South was directly tied to farming. Large landowners had for many years bought their farm equipment from England. After all, with England's long history of manufacturing, English farm equipment was simply the best. Here's me on my English-made Massey Ferguson tractor. You like that? With northern industry on the rise, one of the goods they began to manufacture in these northern factories was, you guessed it, American-made farm equipment. But farmers in the southern United States just wanted the best, so they weren't buying the American brands. The United States government felt it would be better if all farmers in the United States bought from northern factories. But how do you force southern farmers to do that? Tariffs. That's how. Tariffs were, and are, taxes placed on goods that are made in other countries, foreign-made goods, and then sold to the United States. These taxes, or tariffs, make goods made in other countries more expensive to buy, while making the goods made in American factories, anyone? Right, cheaper to buy. By adding tariffs on foreign-made goods like farm equipment, the United States government strongly encouraged Southern farmers to spend their money right here in the good old United States. So how did many Southerners feel? Well, many Southerners really didn't like the tariffs because it made the goods they wanted and had relied on for years more expensive. A lot of farmers had to buy from American factories. Those who didn't just paid the tariffs, the extra tax on foreign-made goods. And when they did this, they had to raise their cotton prices to make some of that money back. And when they did that, they feared that they would lose cotton customers due to the higher prices. And how did many Northerners feel about the tariffs? For Northern factory owners, business had never been better. Now that people were buying their goods because of the tariffs, business was booming. Factory owners felt that the tariffs protected their businesses and kept them up and running. More and more Northern factories were built, which provided jobs for still more Northerners. The country was drifting apart, north from south, south from north. Constitutional issues. Many Northerners and Southerners began to have different thoughts about the role government should play in the lives of Americans. These are called constitutional issues. Northerners, not all, but many Northerners believed in a strong national government. That the national government, or central government, centered in Washington, D.C., should have the ability to make laws and rules that the states must listen to. Like, take tariffs, for example. People in states may not like the taxes, called tariffs, but if the national or central government says you must pay them, well, then you must pay them. The thinking here is that the national government does what's best for the whole country. Now, many Southerners believed that the state governments should have the final say on what rules and laws the people in that state should follow. This is called states' rights. Remember the Articles of Confederation? How it gave the state governments more power than the national government? Some Southerners were thinking maybe that wasn't such a bad idea after all. If the state government had more power than the national government, well, then they would be able to say no to those costly tariffs, for example. It also didn't help that many rich abolitionists lived in the North and supported a strong national government. They wouldn't try to end slavery, would they? The constitutional issue that divided the United States during the 1800s was having a strong national government versus states' rights. There can be no doubt. The country at this time was truly divided. There were cultural divisions, economic divisions, and constitutional divisions. But certainly the country is strong enough to keep it together. Certainly the country is powerful enough to stay on the road to success.